Today, we're jumping into a classic sci-fi story. It's about a battle against organized crime that isn't fought with guns or badges. Nope, it's fought with a weapon that is just completely bizarre, impossible, targeted, and just plain weird luck.
So here's the problem facing our hero, Detective Sergeant Fitzgerald. His city is being taken over, just slowly squeezed to death by this new kind of criminal mastermind. And the worst part, the police force itself is being quietly neutralized. So what's an honest cop supposed to do when the whole system is already bought and paid for?
All right, let's talk about the bad guy, Big Jake Connors. Now, he's not your typical gangster. He is way smarter, way more subtle. He gets that you don't have to break down doors if you can just convince people to leave them unlocked for you. And his method for taking over the city, well, it's as insidious as it is effective.
And what's so wild is how Connors does it. He doesn't just hand out envelopes of cash. No, that's too obvious. Instead, these little anonymous gifts start showing up on the cops' doorsteps. You know, expensive perfume for the wife, some fancy silk socks, even a really nice meerschaum pipe for Fitzgerald himself. It's absolutely brilliant, right? The families are thrilled, and pretty soon, the will to actually fight Big Jake just fizzles out.
So with the police conveniently looking the other way, Connors just starts taking over everything. He moves into the beer business, and suddenly his rivals' trucks start breaking down. He gets into jukeboxes, and competitors' machines get smashed up in these mysterious bar fights. Cabs, oh yeah, they start getting flat tires and leaky brakes left and right. And then, the final move, he sells insurance to protect these businesses from the very same bad luck he's creating.
But this whole perfect system hits a snag. See, there's one man who just refuses to pay up. A quiet, super confident guy named Mr. Brink. He runs the elite cleaners and dyers. So when Big Jake sends his goons to teach Mr. Brink a lesson, well, that's when things start to get really, really strange.
First up, Connors sends a known arsonist, a guy named Jacaro, to go torch Brink's shop. But get this, on his way there, while he's riding a public bus, Jacaro's own pants just burst into flames, spontaneously. Now, he's not seriously hurt, but it's public, it's super humiliating, and it's totally inexplicable. The attack literally backfires on him.
So, next, they try a drive-by shooting. A car full of hoods pulls up, but as they fire their sawed-off shotgun, the flash from their own weapon somehow burns all the hair off the driver's head. He's blinded, he panics, and he slams the car straight into a telephone pole. Again, the violence just gets turned right back on them in the most impossible way you can imagine.
All right, so now they're escalating. They're getting serious. Big Jake's crew plants 2 sticks of dynamite in Brink's delivery truck, and they wire it right to the ignition. The next morning, the driver gets in, turns the key, and nothing, not a thing. The bomb just fails. No reason, no explanation, just a total dud.
So you can imagine what's going through Detective Fitzgerald's mind, right? How is any of this happening? Is it just a crazy string of coincidences? Or is something else going on here? And that mystery leads him right back to Mr. Brink, and to an explanation that's going to shatter everything he thought he knew about how the world works.
And, okay, here it is. This is the big reveal. Brink explains that he's not just lucky. No, he's actively weaponizing the laws of probability itself. He's using some kind of technology that creates what he calls a psi field.
So what does that even mean? Well, this psi field is basically a projected area of influence that messes with the likelihood of things happening, and it's been specifically tuned to one thing: violent intentions. When someone tries to do something violent inside this field, the field makes that violent act the single most improbable thing that could possibly happen. It's a purely defensive weapon that works by making aggression statistically impossible.
Brink actually has this brilliant analogy to explain it. He says, imagine spinning a copper disc in a super strong magnetic field. Its own motion creates heat. If you keep forcing it to spin, the disc will just melt from its own energy. Well, the psi field does the exact same thing to violence. The first little attempt at violence, you get a warning like a twitching eyelid. If you ignore that and push through, probability itself melts down, and the violent act becomes impossible. Its own energy turned right back against it.
And all of this leads to the final showdown. You knew it had to happen. Big Jake Connors, absolutely furious and just fed up with all these bizarre failures, decides to handle it himself. He gets his whole crew together, and they go to confront Brink and Fitzgerald directly, totally ignoring all the warnings his twitching eyelids must have been screaming at him.
And it's a complete disaster. For them.
They start with fists and clubs, just swinging like crazy, but they can't land a single punch. Guys are tripping over their own feet, they're hitting each other by accident, so they escalate to sawed-off shotguns. But the guns jam, or they misfire, or they somehow backfire. Every single violent act is just neutralized by the psi field. It just keeps twisting probability until everything they try to do becomes completely self-defeating.
So what's the end result? What's the final score in a battle between brute force and impossible physics? What does the aftermath even look like when you try to punch probability in the face?
Well, the most important detail comes down to this one number, 2. When it was all said and done, the ambulance that showed up had to make 2 trips. Not 1, 2. That's how many of Big Jake's guys were injured. Not by Brink, not by Fitzgerald, but by their own violent attempts backfiring on them in the most statistically impossible ways.
And that's really the idea at the heart of this whole thing, isn't it? It just flips our whole concept of power on its head. What if the deciding factor in a fight wasn't how strong you are or how big your gun is, but your ability to just control the odds? It makes you wonder about a future where defense could be absolute, and aggression, just by its very nature, is completely doomed to fail.